Apex Online Racing is sponsored by Elgato, who created this lovely Stream Deck. For more information about the Stream Deck, the link is in the description below.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, mothers, fathers, daughters, sons, brothers and sisters. This is the Apex Online Racing iRacing GTE League Season 9 round number, I've forgotten. Which round are we on? Third, seventh? I don't know why that left my head at that particular moment. Here at Sebring, my name is King-Kodiak and I'll be one of your commentators throughout this evening's race. Joining me in the commentary box once again, I'm happy to say, is the one and only Mr. James Clay.
Always a pleasure.
And our graphics god joins us again. It is Mr. Nick Domino.
Thank you for having me.
Always a pleasure, good sir. Right. Who represents our AM class this evening? As you can see, once again, we are in the dark here at Sebring. So it is the Treble 3 Hyperion Porsche of Daniel Lindholt. 392 is the Privateer Ferrari of Tobias Book, returns to us. 396 is the Diesel Race Team Ferrari of Martin Kodeman. 318 is the Hyperion Racing Blood Orange Ferrari of Cohen Van Eyck. We've got the 305 Raptor Racing Team Red BMW of Daniele Mamano. 389 is the VSR BMW of James Boniface. 372 is the Raptor Racing Team Red BMW of Luca Lodato. 391 is the Hyperion Smurfs Racing Porsche of Michael Teumann. 390 is the Hyperion Bavarian Racing BMW of Jacek Voracek. And finally the 302 Raptor Racing Team Green BMW of Michael Mariani. Now, gentlemen, what do we think of Sebring?
Good track.
Bumpy.
Very fun track. Very punishing track to be. It's one of those tracks where you have to actually stay within the white lines, otherwise you find yourself on the grass, possibly then in a wall after that. And so I think it's a good track if you want to separate the drivers that are used to the modern thing of having lots of tarmac runoff and those who are used to the more classical tracks.
Yeah, it's also a track where you're not always sure if you're on the grass or on the track due to the bumps. It is driving, on a teenager's face, these on the track. Especially Sunset Bend, the last corner and turn 1 are extremely bumpy, and you will see some of these cars just, be on 3 wheels through there due to the stiffness of the chassis and the setups.
It's going to be a trying race for all of our drivers, let alone those, I was going to say let alone those in the AMs, but very often it's we get some surprises here at Sebring. It's very easy to wander off the road, especially when you can't always see where the grass starts and the track ends, as Nick was alluding to. As we look at Tobias Book going through. That's got to be quite nervous when you're coming around a bend at full crank and you see someone else's dust right in front of you. That's got to be a little bit unnerving.
I think it's one of those things you've got to put off at this track. You'll see it a lot because sometimes people will just dip a wheel in the dirt and it will just appear and like as you come around the corner. And unless your spotter's told you that there's a car stopped ahead, you kind of just have to put it out of your mind and just keep going. But then when your spotter does say it, your mind instantly goes to, that could be a freebie, and so you start getting a bit.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes you just, if you're in doubt, just go flat out, and you just, keeping that foot down. And the first couple of times, you just have to force yourself to do it.
And the first to set a lap is James Boniface with a 56.404. Immediately superseded by Daniele Mamano and Michael Mariani, and Tobias Book has got in there as well. Martin Kodeman has got a time on the board. Cohen Van Eyck, our AM poleman, our AM winner from last week, is now on the top of the tree with a 55.525. A bit of a longer lap than some tracks. Daniel Lindholt had I think it's fair to say, a pretty damn disastrous race last week. It was absolutely mullered before we got anywhere. So he's hoping for a bit of better luck. The Hyperion Porsche. Luca Lodato has jumped up into second position, but Koen van Eyck just shy of a half second ahead of the rest of the pack. What a cracker!
He really is a master at disqualifying. I think he is probably the AM driver with the most class poles, to be honest.
The amount of times we've seen him there this season, especially, has been incredible.
And it just over the last couple of seasons, he's been really. I remember Silverstone. Was it last season or the season before, where he got P2 overall. So he is really, really fast, but not always as lucky in the races.
I mean, we saw that last week. He was right up in the mix. He was thinking he was about P16 overall come lap one, and he got hit. Luckily, it was at a track where the damage didn't really affect him too much. But yeah, he definitely wasn't very lucky. But I think that's also kind of what happens when you are so good in qualifying and you actually qualify in that mid-pack. You start squabbling with people that you probably weren't expecting to be squabbling with and whatever, and so just get caught up in more incidents than normal.
Yeah, definitely.
Oddly,
Mikhail
Toman hasn't moved. He set an invalid time. He was a 1:58.9, which would have put him towards the back of the AMs anyway, and he hasn't moved since. He had time. He did well. He doesn't really have time now to. Well, he definitely doesn't have time now. There's less than 2 minutes on the clock. That was a bit of a strange one. There are a couple of drivers serving penalties this evening. Funny enough, I reminded myself who they were, and I have already forgotten. Philip Schiff is one, and Alfie Lawrenson, both Team Tepper drivers, will be starting from the pit lane for this evening's festivities. So they may not come out in qualifying. Well, they're not. They're allowed to, but they're not allowed to set a time. Is that right?
That depends on what kind of penalty they're having. Because if it's the drive-through, they are allowed to qualify. They just need to serve it during the race. So it's only if it's a penalty start. I am actually not sure.
It's pit lanes. They'll be starting from the pit lane for
those
two. They won't be coming out in quali, will they? They're not allowed to set a time.
Well, they are, but in the grand scheme of things, if they accidentally set a lap time, I don't know what the ruling would be, but actually in terms of affecting the race, and if they set a quali time and just start from the pit lane, it actually wouldn't make a difference at all what happens. So
that's a fair point.
Technically, if the stewards want to be harsh on them and they weren't supposed to, they can impose another penalty on top of that, but in the grand scheme of things, nothing changes.
The Pro-Ams are beginning to fidget, as we can see as we're watching James Boniface come over the line. We saw all the Pro-Ams beginning to gather. There they are. Once again, the Pro-Ams being our biggest represented category. Oops, that's someone that's spinning. That will be Boniface. Oh, he was trying to do something about his lap time. He will start no higher than 8th. Oh, of course, 8th in class. Only Jerzy Voracek is behind him in the AM class, as well as Mikhail Tobin.
It appears that Boniface, I think, just touched that grass as he was going into turn 2. I believe that, that is turn 2.
No, it's turn 3. It is America. It is America.
There's a non-existent turn 2.
Oh yeah. It's, I always, with those first few corners, I kind of just go, it's some amount between like 3 and 5 corners in there somewhere.
Yeah.
It's actually named Christensen Corner now.
Oh.
Now the Pro-Ams are underway. Let's have a look at who is representing the Pro-Am contingent this time around. 254 is the Team Tepper Ram Ranch BMW of Craig Dancy. 226 is the Conrad Tepper Porsche of Alex Schmidt. 269 is the Small Bone Racing BMW of Isaac Morris. Returning to us, I think he won a race, didn't he? Gerd Sommers? I think I seem to remember he
won Suzuka, I think.
He won the Pro-Ams at Suzuka. We haven't seen him since. But welcome back, the Privateer 259 Ford of Gerd Sommers. 203, the Venom Motorsport BMW of John Hallowell. 271, the Privateer Endrit. Oh, someone's flashing the lights. I don't know who or don't know why. But 271 is the Privateer BMW of Dan Alpol. 295 is the Hyperion Racing Neon Yellow Ferrari of Rano Dick. 274 the VT Sim Racing Cyan Ferrari of Sebastian Riethmüller. The Pro-Am winner from last week, the 227 VSR BMW of Jake Sanders. 241 is the Hyperion Racing Blood Orange Ferrari of Marvin Sleeman. 217, the Big Bone Racing Ferrari of Jack Anderek. 293, the Hyperion Racing X01 Ford. It's the grinning Ford of Chris Yardley, not that we'll see it in this light, or lack thereof. 270, Alejandro Porticorvi's name is missing from the overlay. I'll have to bear that one in mind. He's representing the Raptor Racing Team Green, as we're starting to get some times on the board for the Pro-Ams. 267 is the VC Sim Racing Cyan Ferrari of Philippe Gaillard. 215 returning to us is the Big Bone Racing BMW of Sam Blackwood. 237 is the Privateer Ferrari. Ooh, that's wide. It's Thomas Lagney. Setting a time already for the Pro-Ams, I think. Yep, we have had a couple. Victor Matios, we just jumped to him in the 204 Hyperion Racing X01 Ford. 245 is the Raptor Racing Team Orange Ferrari of Stim Broomfield. And 200, the Team AOR Ford of Saradov. So once again, a strong showing from our Pro-Ams. Now, is any one of these... something I ask most weeks is whether one of the makes of cars, so either the Ferrari, the Ford, the BMW, the Porsche, has an inherent advantage anywhere. So I'll ask it again, gentlemen. Does any one of these GTEs have an inherent advantage over any of the others?
Well, the big thing here is that the Ford is probably furthest away from the front here. And then it kind of becomes a bit of a mess as to conditions and who's driving in terms of just the other three makes, because this has historically been a very good track for the Porsche and the Ferrari. The Ferrari's been very good at the start of this race, and the Porsche, as the Ferrari tides have died off, have just taken that leap in front of the Ferrari around here. And then the BMW, as we've talked about a lot this season, has had a balance of performance change, and it lost 10 kilograms this season, and it's basically made it the fastest car at damn near every track. So it's one of those ones where you kind of it's not a BMW track, but the BMW is faster, which is weird to say, but it's true.
But it's also because the BMW is so easy to drive, and one thing you really want here is an easy car to drive.
But at the same time, the problem with BMW is its pogoness with its suspension, and that's obviously something you don't want here, whereas the Ferrari is the big curb eater, bump eater.
Oh yeah, definitely. But the BMW don't really feel it too much, at least from my experience around here.
John Halliwell has rather proven the point. The BMW being the stronger car, he has set the new pole time. Never mind, Greg Dancy has just nicked it. But he's in the BMW as well. There he is in the 254 car. 154.705. Wow, we found 6/10 over John Halliwell. And again, Al Pole third in class. Oh, Isaac Morris has just jumped up into second. Yeah, it's quite strong showing for the Beamers up front. But then BMWs do form about half of the field, so that's not really a surprise.
I think, it's kind of just one of those things where we're like, oh, it's a BMW on pole, because there's not anything else that really could be there.
No, definitely.
It's got most chance of being on pole through sheer numbers, if nothing else. Well, if there was rain in iRacing, we might have a different matter. But there isn't, so...
Perhaps one day. Could you imagine?
Yeah. Oh, that's a name I didn't see. 232, the Team Tepper Space Rangers Ferrari, Tom Hooper. I didn't spot that name, so welcome to you. Oh,
it's
I didn't.
Because he's only just arrived.
Oh, wow. Talk about leaving that to the last minute. 299, there's another one I didn't spot. Phoenix Motorsports, Ferrari, Paolo Martins. Welcome back to you. Philippe Gaillard's not got a time on the board yet. He hasn't got long. Not enough time to get around and start another lap should he need to, but it's one of these tracks that is not very forgiving when it comes to making mistakes, as we've mentioned before. But it's quite a long lap time as well, let alone the actual trickiness of the track. It's a fairly long way from lights to flag.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those tracks where actually you don't feel like it, but it's 6 kilometers in length. To put in perspective, that's the same as Baku, and it's only 1 kilometer shorter than Spa. And those are tracks that you think are quite long, but you go around here, because it's so slow and twisty, your brain doesn't really register how long it actually is.
Yeah, well, I could believe. As we're watching Philippe Gaillard come around the final turn, come around Sunset Bend. Will he get a time on the board this time? Let us see. The line there. And he sets a time, but not going to put him too far out the field. And he has stopped. So 157.071 only puts Gaillard. He's immediately superseded by Victor Matias. We'll start him no higher than 26th position. Craig Dancy still the top of the tree at the moment. That shows you how strong Cohen Van Eyck's time was. He's still in 8th position, despite the fact that the programs are still doing their thing. Of course, we've got the pros to come out on the field, but Cohen Van Eyck, his time was a good couple of tenths quicker, I think. Yeah, about 2 and a bit tenths quicker than second place Tobias Book. So a great effort once again from Cohen.
Yeah, let's just see if he can, get it to work this time. One of the issues also is that the Pro-Ams might not be as fast over a single lap, but over the whole race. Cohen loses a bit, and then, he will give places to the other guys, so, he don't want to fight them.
That's
and then suddenly you're in the clutch of the guy you're, are far ahead in the qualifying.
That is a fair point, well made. And now our pros will be released, or, well, now's the time. Oh, there we go, they've now realised. I wonder, is it one of these cases that you think your time slot is open, but no one moves? Is it a case of no one wants to be the first one to jump?
No, I think it's more a case of nobody really gives them notice. They have to control it themselves. So it's like, oh, is it?
Yeah, no one wants to be that guy that got it wrong.
Well, one thing, the Team Tepper cars are actually, brighter tonight, which I didn't think were possible.
Well, indeed, because the Fords have got those extra sidelights on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that is the grand old story of the Team Tepper cars. Apparently, is that they were invented for an endurance race, and they thought, why don't we make our cars a high visibility jacket so that when it becomes nighttime, there's none of the "I didn't see you" excuse.
Oh yeah.
As someone's actually jumped past as we're looking at James Pinsker. So he's having a scrap with someone already. Let's have a rundown of who we got for the pros. 168 is the Team Tepper Ford of James Pinsker. 121 is the second Team Tepper Ford of Rainer Talvar. 119 is the privateer entrant of Blair Mann. 109, the championship leader, Just. He was out skiing last week and still retains the championship lead, but by only 8 points. We'll run down the championship order when we're in the gridding phase, but it's the 109 Comrade Gaming BMW of Christoph Holstein. 124 is the Team Tepper Ram Ranch BMW of Arjen van Putten. 148, the winner last time out for Team Tepper Varsin. I've always got that right. I'm now getting it wrong. That's working well for me as a commentator. That's Kian White. 101, the champion, just 8 points behind the championship lead, is the Radicals Online Simmortal BMW of Ross Woodford. 188 is the Comrade Tepper Ferrari of Mighty Nedelic. 186 is the VEC Sim Racing Magenta Porsche of Sylvia Moraine. 173, the Venom Motorsports Ferrari of Michael Edens. And the 185 Tag Racing UK Ferrari of Andy Gorton. That's who was racing James Pinsker earlier on. Let's see how well they do. I think that's actually going to put Andy as one of the front runners on the track at the moment. Possibly.
So of course we had a different race winner out last time again in Kian White. Interesting statistic. I believe out of the last 8 races in this league, so in this season and last season, we've had 7 different winners overall.
Wow.
So maybe someone can add to that list this week and get it 9 out of 8. No, 8 out of 9, sorry. But
9 out of 8 would be impressive.
That would be very impressive.
Yeah, more winners than races. That would be unusual.
But
now you've said it, and you will have the commentator's curse on it.
Yeah.
Well, with Kian, one thing I have noticed is I've seen him bouncing around a lot this week in the ILMS official races, which are at Watkins Glen, not Sebring. So I don't know how much practice he's done around this track, but it might not have been a track he's been enjoying, so he might not be able to keep that one. He could prove me wrong. I don't know. But just based off what I've seen him in those sessions, he's more focusing on next week probably, which is at Watkins Glen.
I was about to say, yeah, he's forward thinking, but he's taking part whether he likes the track or not. As we look at Andy Gorton, looks like he's going to be the first to set the time in the pro category. What does he get on the board? 155 flats. That's third. Yeah, 155 with 061. Andy Gorton, Pinsker in fifth, or second in class, with a 55.267 as Andy returns back to the pits. There's Randy Talbot coming over the line. What can he get on the board for Team Tepper? Martin Nadalik has gone up into third, leader of the class now, 154.987. That's a 55.061 for... oh no, beg your pardon, that was Andy Gorton. And it's Mr. Holstein getting on the top of the tree now. He's jumped straight back to the pits with a 54.471 for the Conrad Gaming team. Where did Randy Talbot... Oh, was that it was an invalid lap. It was a 54.5, so it would have put him second, but it was invalid, so will not count. Blair Mann jumps up into third position, second overall, 154.716. Craig Dancy is a couple of tenths off the back of Holstein, so again, a stunning effort there.
Yeah, I mean, it's also very... what I thought was that it's very uncharacteristic to see Andy Gorton currently 6/10 off of pole position. He's been one of those guys that has been very much up at the front fighting for podiums in the races he's been in. So probably not seeing it all from him. Maybe he can challenge for pole as well. And obviously we have one other person yet to set a lap time that's normally up at the front, and that is Ross Woodford.
Who I am looking at right now, just coming through the final bend.
Got incredibly close to the wall through Sunset Bend.
I wince every time, particularly when they head towards the line. Oh my goodness me, a 53.687. Good grief.
Okay.
Have a care for your fellow competitors, Ross. Good.
He's not going to be completing another lap, he's just ruined turn one.
Yeah, he's... well, whether that was who that is directly ahead of him, that must be so frustrating. I mean, I don't know how much of that lap Christoph Holstein set was him at full crank, but if you've really set what you feel is a blistering lap and someone puts a time that's 8/10 quicker than you, or near enough 8/10 quicker than you, that must be so demoralising.
It's the worst feeling.
You're a terrible human being, Ross Woodford.
It's just...
I would say it's the next second to worst feeling. The worst feeling is getting beat by 1 or 2 thousandths of a second.
True. That's no. The worst one is when you have the same lap time to like 3 decimal places, but because iRacing, I think what happens is iRacing measures it to more accuracy, it just doesn't display it, and so it just decides based on that. So you can't actually see who set the fastest lap time. So you just feel robbed. That's really harsh. But the problem with things with like Ross is that you just look at it and you just go, okay, so how do you do this?
Yeah.
And he's jumped back to the pits and not returned to track. He's just like, yep, go on then, have a go if you think you're hard enough, and just gone. I mean, there's no point in reappearing now, it's less than a minute to go, but he went back to the pits a couple of minutes ago.
It's just... That's the difference between being beaten by a couple of hundreds. You know that next time you could do that. But with Ross, it's one of those ones where you're like, okay, I'm going to have to go away and I'm going to have to work really hard to get just... Yeah, it's one of those... It's infuriating.
Holstein is pushing hard, riding on board with him, coming through turn 4. He hit that apex very hard as he's sweeping through the Big Ben, turn number 6. Let's ride on board with him until the checkered flag doth fall. Rainer Talvar has gone up into third position with a 54.585. He will do no more for this qualifying session. Checkered flag is about to come out as we are sweeping through turn 9. Towards 10. Pinsker has jumped up to 4th with a 54.688. Oh, that's Andy Gorton. He's gotten out of the way. Very nicely done. And Blair Mann's lap time was invalid. Checkered flag is now out, so Blair will not start higher than 6th. Craig Dancy, 5th position for the Pro-Ams. Very nicely done. As we are screaming down through 14. Well, the double apex left-hander now, 15. Could go horribly wrong here. And then over the line, which is absolutely fine. Everybody will do it. You will not get penalised for that. And then it's just this one. This straight must feel like it never ends.
It's actually quite a short straight to be, like compare it to some tracks that will go to
Like a bit of Le Mans, yeah, I imagine.
Yeah, like there are some. I mean, even Watkins Glen. Actually, when you take from turn 1 to the carousel at the end of the straight, because we're not going to have the bus stop layout, it's actually it feels way longer than this straight. But yeah.
That is a 54.303. So even the mighty Holstein could only find a tenth of a second. So 6/10 Ross Woodford to the good. That's unbelievable.
I don't think we've seen that this season.
Not a gap that size.
I
know
think
this is
it
a
was
bit of a
fairly
longer lap.
similar in Suzuka, and it was a second in Le Mans, but obviously that's a much.
That's a long lap, yeah. Yeah, wasn't it Suzuka where he commented he had more in the tank?
Yes, he said he qualified on pole by about half a second, and then in an interview said he had more in the tank in the qualifying lap. At which point you just think, I think is the only accurate response to that.
That is.
Blair Mann's just put it second. Oh, nice. Over there.
He has. And he's still half a second behind that mighty lap from Ross, but Blair with a 54.255. There's 2 cars still on track. Kean White is still going. Last week pro winner, and Andy Gorton. I think Andy's closer to the flag. I think.
I just wanna point out that our great marshal, the enthusiastic man with the flag, has gone from Watkins Glen and to Sebring. So he is here. He is here. Don't worry.
Good.
With the penultimate corner, turn 16, that Kean's just gone through. The first time I saw that track limit on iRacing, because I was just after I'd done a 12-hour race at Sebring on R-Factor, and I'd seen it on iRacing, and I'd just gone, "Excuse me, you can do what now?"
And they were not able to finish their laps. The qualifying session is done, so it's Ross now, Woodford and Blair Mann on the front row. Then it is Holstein, Talvar, Penske, Craig Dancy taking the Pro-Am pole, Nederleek, White, Morris, Van Putten, Gorton, Zommers, Edens, Halliwell, Riethmuller, Alpol, Sanders. 18th was Portacorvi. Kodiak are Am Polman, Martins, Brumfield, Buch, Schmidt, Anderek, Lodato, Sluman, Lagney, Dove, Mariani, Luke, Yardley, Kodeman, Blackwood, Mamano, Linholt, Boniface, Voracek, Matthias, Gaillard, Hooper, Moraine, Lawrenson, Toman and Schiff. And Schiff and Lawrenson starting from the pit lane. Let's have a quick look then at our championship. Let's have a look at the AMs. It's so close in the AM championship at the moment. The top 5 less than 10 points apart. Kodeman just having the top spot with Boniface second, Kamke third, Smith fourth, and Van Eyck in 5th position. Then is Merlin Cooper, Mr. Domino, who is no longer in the league, and then Mariani, Linholt, and Toman round out the top 10. Pro-Ams not so close. Jake Sanders running off with this one, well, comparatively speaking. 36-point gap between himself and Morris, then Anderek, Halliwell, Lawrenson, Schmidt, Sluman, Zommers, Denzler, who isn't with us, and Brimfield. The pros are pretty close together. Holstein with an 8-point gap over Woodford, and just a further 2 points back to Alex Bennett, who's not with us, with a dead steering wheel, I think you were telling me earlier, James?
Yeah, he's out of action in both this and the single-seater league for the foreseeable couple of weeks, because he doesn't have a wheel.
It's Talvar, Van Putten, Pinsker, Nederleek, White and Gorton in that lineup. As we are now in the gridding up phase, there is everybody. So we're going to be doing a full lap behind the safety cars, one of the older tracks. So a full lap is where we will be. Then we will get this race underway. When you're doing a full lap behind the safety car, as opposed to just the shortened part like you have at Le Mans, like we had last week at Catalonia, does it play any differently on the nerves? Does it jangle the nerves a little bit more? Or do you just not notice it and you just kind of get on with the day?
I think for me, at least, I prefer having the long sort of formation lap, because it allows you to get all sort of things set up, make sure all your in-car adjustments are correct. Just make sure everything's botted in and is secure. Compared to sometimes when you're starting only 10 seconds away from the start-finish line, well, the start of the race, and you're like, is everything checked? And then you'll see in official races when you're going to be setting up your pit stop as well. So you're like, are my tyres unticked? Is my fuel set up correctly? Whereas here it's just kind of a 2 minutes of, well, it's probably longer at this track even, and it's just sort of a 3 minutes of chill out, get to grips, think about what you're going to do on the start, who you might be able to get, who you need to look out for.
Yeah.
Just focus on that.
You sometimes actually kind of, you know, just go into yourself and just thinking, all right, you know, just kind of talk to yourself almost, you know, what especially these drivers will be talking about their, you know, strategy for the race, as they will do the 2 stops. And then sometimes, you know, when you get to the last corner, you're like, oh, we have to go now. Where, well, when they only have that half lap, you're like, yes. Sometimes it's just all right. Now you're here. Now you're pumped.
I wonder if you two see the same thing. If you look at Blair Mann, who's starting on the front row, in the twilight, does his livery not remind you of the geodesic livery?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Yes, definitely.
I just saw that actually.
I also want to point out that our fine coordinators have decided that as we are in America, we are driving with the Mustang safety car.
That makes
instead
sense.
of our normal Porsche.
That is, yeah, very true.
And there it is.
Things.
It's these little details that make all the difference.
Exactly.
So, this must feel like it takes forever. Well, it does take a while.
It is the second longest full formation lap on iRacing, I do believe. I believe Road America's is slightly longer because it's a slightly longer lap time. But it's
sense.
very similar between the 2 tracks, and so yeah, these are the most infuriating ones. Whereas the final week that we'll go to, actually, we have full formation laps until the end of the season now. We have Watkins Glen next week, which is a full formation lap, and Road Atlanta. Road Atlanta is a very short lap, so it'll be less infuriating than this, but this straight, you're going down it and you're just like, come on, can we get moving now?
Can they push the safety car? Can they push it
I
basically?
would never try it.
You can drive through it.
Oh, right.
It's not physical.
Will you get disqualified if you do that?
No.
I think if you stay in front of it come green, you'll get a penalty.
That
Oh
makes
yeah,
sense.
But when we have, you know, when you get a lap back, you can just drive through it.
Here we go then, through the final turn. And the pace car will be peeling off. There he goes. So when that light goes green, we'll be racing. And here we go. We are racing here at Sebring. You can see the 2 that are starting from the pit lane. That is Schiff and Lawrenson. And screaming on down towards turn 1. Lots of jostling, as you would imagine, towards the tail of the field.
Well, you see 3-way through turn 1, you never think good things can come out of it, but they managed to go through cleanly.
Indeed. I'm sort of looking further back. I'm not seeing anybody off into the dust just yet. But I said that last week, and just as I uttered the words, there was then a fair amount of death. One person's got a 4X on the board. That is Andy Gorton, amazingly. Oh no, never mind. We've got a few more. Sam Blackwood's had a bit of a bang with someone, along with Mariani. There was a bit of dust being kicked up there. Gerd Zommers has also got a 4X on the board, but it does look like everybody has made it so far.
Just to put into perspective, the pit lane penalties for Schiff and Lawrenson, they're currently just going through turn 5, through Big Bend turn 6. Meanwhile, everyone else is much further ahead of that. So they've got a lot of catching up to do.
Gerd Zommers has just earned another penalty point. He's up to 5 already. We haven't even done a lap, so he's in for a long day. Now, what are penalty points like on this particular track? Some tracks are very difficult to get penalties on.
It's quite easy to get penalty points on this one because, you know, you're so much on the limit and just a bit too much in the limits. So it can be fairly easy.
For me, it's always been a track where you either end up with about 1x or you end up with about 12x because it's a very consistent track. That's the difference. You have sort of tracks like Spa where it seems to be very inconsistent what actually counts as an off track. Here, you know, it's if you're on the dirt, you're getting an off track.
You're getting an off track.
And so it's just like, if you stay off the dirt, you'll be fine. But sometimes, some races you'll need to be pushing harder than others. Some situations you'll have battles more than others. And so, yeah, you'll end up with very inconsistent penalty amounts.
Daniele Mamano has given himself a slowdown penalty as we're looking at Marvin Sluman. Oh, he's having a crack at Paolo Martins. Didn't quite come off though. It's a decent effort on the outside of the final turn, nonetheless. So everybody is done all right so far. Alfred Lawrenson and Philip Schiff are doing a great job of destroying the gap in between themselves and the rest of the field. Oh, Saradov! What's going on with you? Tobias Boots have gone past her. I don't think anything major. It's just, I think she wandered slightly too far up the road and has lost a spot. It's Ross Woodford doing Ross Woodford things. He is beginning to stretch his legs already. That's 0.8 of a second between himself and Blair Mann, and roughly the same again between Blair Mann and Christoph Holstein. I'm surprised actually the front of the field is spreading out that far this early. Usually they stay in a bit more of a tight bunch.
It's a very consistent train, so that if we get when we get on the backstrap, we'll have a nice shot, and they seem to be very equidistant apart, a lot of the cars, and so it's just sort of maybe it's just the gap that you have to keep around this track. I don't know, or maybe it's just what they're feeling comfortable with or something, but it just seems very weird. They're all about the same gap.
Yeah,
really, Sunset Bend and Turn 1, it's difficult to stay that close to people through the corners. So I think that's one of the factors. And from turn 1 to turn 13, it's like bend. There's not that much right now.
Someone's in trouble, I think.
Yeah,
Jake Sanders. That's a slowdown penalty, and this early in the race, that is pretty painful. It's down to 17th now for him. Oh, what a shame for him. He's not repeating his.
What he's done is he's got onto the curb just before turn 16, and it just shoots you off. And although you can abuse the track limit in that corner, if you do go too far out, which he has there with the amount he's got caught on the curb, he'll get the slowdown penalty.
And you can also really much get killed because there's like a dent on the outside, a hole. And if you get the rear wheel to the outside of the curb, it will just spin you straight into the wall.
Nasty.
Yeah.
Alfred Lawrenson's got some distance between himself and Philip Schiff now, about 3 seconds, but he is really doing a great job of catching to the rest of the pack. It's 6.5 seconds now that he's got to close into Daniele Mamano. He is going great guns towards the tail of the field. He's he invalidated his last lap, but he is pushing hard to close that gap down. Ross Woodford now nearly 2 seconds ahead of everybody else. Craig Dancy in 5th position overall, and he's leading our pro-ams by a very long way. He is leading them by maybe 4 seconds? About 4 seconds he's leading the way, which at this stage is not bad at all. What's going on with Ponta Corvi? Oh, he's having a bit of a fight with Jack Anderak for 20th position overall, and there's Paolo Martins right in that gap with Marvin Sluman. Right behind them.
Probably just going down to the hairpin. We're just way too late on the brakes and almost used Van Eyck as a braking point. But it just gave Broomfield the opportunity to really overtake him.
Oh, Jack Sanders is falling through the field. That's another slowdown.
Kian White also picked up a slowdown. He was looking to get a run on his Tepper teammate James Pinsky going through Le Mans, but instead just took too much of the inside line, cut the corner and got a slowdown penalty. He's now lost it to Randy Gorton.
Oh, that's a bit of a fight going on there. That's Alex Smith and Marvin Sluman side by side coming down towards turn 1. And considering how many cars are around them, that's pretty dangerous, but they're doing all right with it at the moment. Tobias Book, Sarah Dowd already behind. And oh, that's a wiggle on from, that was Tobias, I think it was a bit wiggly, but just to keep the car pointing in the direction he needs it to. So we were talking about our class leaders. Craig Dancy he let Nadalek go, so he's in 6th position, but Jose leads. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars in between himself and second in class Isaac Morris. That's about 3 seconds to the good. And leading the AMs once again is Kevin Van Eyck. No incident points on the board for him just yet. Oh, Palamartins and Alex Smith are side by side. That's very close. They're screaming down towards... Where are they? I've lost track of where we are. That's turn 10, I believe.
11. Yeah,
And they're still side by side. Neither of them wanted to let this go.
Inside line for Tower. This should be a move done, and actually it's a Ferrari looking to challenge him on the inside as well.
Yeah, that is Marvin Sluman that was looking to get involved in that. Yep, Alex Smith now up into what is 22nd overall. That's given them about 1.8 second gap between the and Jack Anderak down the road.
It's so difficult being on the outside of turn 11 because it's just the cars just as you're accelerating, the car just wants to spin all the time. And it's so complicated.
Just this swarm of GTE headlights screaming down that back straight. Oh, and there goes that's Sarah Dove and Tobias Book, I think. Yep, there's the Am Ferrari just going to cut back underneath him. Had to mute then because I was sneezing, sorry. Beg your pardon, that's why I suddenly cut my own centres off. Cohen Van Eyck, what's going on with you? You've lost a position to Stephen Brumfield. I think Cohen made a mistake potentially, but it's not going to lose him anything in the AMs. He's leading the AMs by... that's about 4 seconds in between himself and Tobias Book.
He don't want these guys, fighting with these guys because they are a bit faster than him, and he just want to get in the zone and just do the laps.
Yeah.
Oh
dear! That is Sanders. Oh, he is having a terrible time. What happened there? I think he lost that of his own. Yeah, the rear just got away from him coming into 7. I think that is. Oh, yeah. Don't reserve first on track. Oh, I mean, he was stuck between a rock and a hard place there because if he went forward, he'd hit the wall. But reversing onto track, particularly with that many people around you, was generally a good idea. But that's put Jake all the way down to 34th position. Ouch, indeed. Oh, Andy Gorton's nearly pushing James Pinsker through turn 16. Kian White directly behind them, so Kian's got a great ringside seat for the battle ahead of him. Is Gorton going to make a move? Yep, he's sizing up the inside line coming into Sunset Bend, and Pinsker did not want anything to do with that. He let the Ferrari go. That's a long way to go.
Could have done about that with the Ferrari being one of, if not the fastest car in the straight line versus the 4, which is the slowest car in the straight line. So just a bit of toe and a bit of raw horsepower gets him across.
Sensible driving then. That's how that particular pack looks. Right behind Kian White is Arjun Van Putten in 10th position. So once again, this is a much more kind of strategic race than we thought we were going to have last week. And last week was, well, chaotic, but it was good fun for us. But this time I think it's fair to say Sebring is just one of these tracks that's very well known to anybody that has any love of GTE cars and general endurance racing. Sebring is just one of these tracks that you just know. It's like Spa for single-seaters. You generally will come across it. Yeah,
it's amazing sometimes you can tell what kind of cars people drive based on the tracks that they know rather than what the cars they know. And yeah, you're right. It's one of those tracks that if you are a sports car racer, you should have in your repertoire. So a lot of these drivers will know it. Some of them won't because they might just be new.
Oh, that's a spin! That's a spin! It's Sanders again! What is going on with the 227 car? So, I bet he's gone in too hot into turn 7. He went past Sarah Dove and he locked the brakes and round he went. So that's the VSR BMW now down into 42nd position. That has just undone itself so badly for Jake Sanders.
Yeah, and one spin, and you're just heating those tires up that much, and you just have no grip.
Does it then become a bit of an anger management exercise? So frustration just adds to frustration.
Definitely.
It does for me. I know that.
Yeah, it just becomes one mistake becomes another, and then another, and then another. So he might actually be thinking of get that pit stop out of the way and get a couple of new tires if this keeps on.
I mean, let's not forget that although he's had these 2 incidents in turn 7, he also has had 2 slowdowns before that, and it's just
fair point.
clearly it probably is compounding in his head that he needs to start making improvements, because he's like, I've made a mistake, need to push on and get ahead of that. And sometimes it works fine and it goes perfectly well, and you'll make a mistake and then you'll go and set some of the best laps and it will drive you, and other times it'll be the last thing you want to think about because it just compounds and you keep making mistake after mistake. And unfortunately for Jake, I think it also is a bit of a combination of he's been in good positions this season. I can't exactly remember where they've ended up, because I think there's been a couple that haven't ended up in exactly where they could have been. He's been in good positions and then they've sort of fallen down a bit. We've been up there all season, and so when start going wrong, your brain just it gets even worse when you start making mistakes because you think you should be doing better.
But I was going to make that very same point. That Jake Sanders, of the 6 rounds we've had, he's won 3 of them. The second and third, he was 11th at Monza. He was at the opening round, so didn't do well there. But he's won 3 of the last 5 rounds. So you end up in this position where you know you are lower than you should be, and you know it's your own fault that's put you down there. So it becomes very, very frustrating. I can absolutely sympathise, but it was easy for us in the commentary box to say, yeah, just calm down, you'll get back into it. Yeah, fine. When you're down there, when you're in the... I have a little bit of experience with it. I'm in the Project Cars 2 Default League in the Renault Clios, and I actually had a situation last week. We were running what's referred to as Sakito in PCAS, it's Suzuka for all intents and purposes, where my confidence just vanished. I just was not confident at all in the car or anything. And so the first half of the race was absolutely dire. And then, I don't know what happened, just everything came to me. Everything came good. And I stormed through the field. So it's one of these things that if you're not where you think you should be, it just adds to the kind of mental pressure that you're under as a driver.
I think the case study I'd like to add is the one we were talking about off air just before the race, was my 12-hour R-Factor race around here, where I'd run the car out of fuel because my brain was being distracted for some, I can't remember what was going on, but something distracted me from pitting.
Yeah, I was looking at Cohen. He's that's a rock and a hard place for him. Sorry, James, we'll come back to you in a second.
Fine.
But Cohen was a little bit stuck there because he got 3 programs right around him, and I think he was just trying to get out of the way more than anything else. He's doing the sensible thing and letting the quicker drivers go. But the problem is he's now only got 2 drivers in between himself and second in class Tobias Buch, and there he is, and he's got clear red ahead of him. Paolo Martins has had a bit of a rough few corners as well. He's dropped to 28. Anyway, sorry, James, you were saying?
I was just saying that, so what happened was I'd run the car out of fuel through my just forgetting to pit, and once we finally got the car back through some pushing antics, I'd got in the car and my head had decided, look, right, you may have made the mistake, but it's just time to get in and forget about all of that. And I managed to put it aside, and I just had put on, and I'd been putting in the fastest laps on the track at the time. But then later in the season there was a race where I'd qualified way out of position compared to normal. I was down way below where I should have been, and I just had no confidence for like the first 2 hours of the endurance race, and I just had no idea what was going on. And then, being an endurance race, things kick off around you and you start seeing things go on and you go, okay, maybe I can just build on this. And I think that's what Jake needs. He just needs to start slowly building up and just looking at maybe just the small positives that are going on. Maybe just finding some time on his delta, seeing other people start to get a bit slidey or something, and then just try and build that up mentally, and he'll be able to push on harder.
Exactly. This is also a track where, the drivers really need to be careful about their tire wear. Because of the bumps and stuff like that, you're really using a lot of the mechanical grip around here with the cars. So you're using a lot of the tires. So we might see some drivers struggle, especially the Ferrari drivers at the end, because that car is not only eating curbs, it's also eating tires. And if they just make mistakes, that's as well as we talked about with the with turn 7 to happen. It's so easy to just lock up the fronts in there and just damage your tires. So this this will kind of be a strategic race, unless you're Ross Woodford, who's like
He's just gone.
six seven. He's like the Tim Delisle of this league.
He is, isn't he?
Just I can give you when we talk about Ross and his antics with this, I can take my learnings from Tim Delisle in the FR 3.5 league. It's exactly like that with the how are you there?
Yeah.
How are you fast?
How are you? Well, that's how are you fast. How are you that fast was certainly the case with Tim Delisle in the single seaters. As I'm on board with Michael Mariani, who's got a fantastic ringside seat of the battle between Sam Blackwood, Thomas Lackney, and Paolo Martins. They have been scrapping it out for a good half a lap. It's been great to watch. And he is just sat there in the BMW like, yeah, carry on. Chris Yardley a little bit off the back of him as well. I was also looking at Cohen Van Eyck. He's let through. Oh, never mind. Oh, no, that's Alex Smith in the pits. Wow, that's early. That's very early. I thought Alex had a problem there, but no, he's just come into the pits. That's very... I'm surprised we've seen someone in that early, but like you were saying, Nick, that could be a tyre problem. Now, Cohen Van Eyck has let through all of the Pro-Ams that were behind him, but that has cost him time against Tobias Buch, who is now just 2.3 seconds behind.
And this was what we talked about, it might be fantastic to qualify that high, but during the race you'll just fall down slowly into the class you're actually in. So the gaps that we do see at the beginning might not be that big. I would say it's quite impressive that Gorton still has a car full and whole, and still steering the correct way.
Well, he had an incident early on last week, I believe.
Oh yeah, he got a car in the side, which is always what's wrong.
Yeah, he's doing okay at the moment. Paolo Martins and Michael Mariani are now side by side. So Paolo's had a problem. He's fallen out of that pack he was in. And look at this lot that's chasing him. So that's Chris Yardley, Martin Codeman, James Boniface, Tom Hooper, Victor Matios, Daniel Lindholt, all in this great big pack that Paolo Martins really doesn't want to be enrolled in, because there's quite a few AMs in there that he doesn't want to lose time with, particularly with some Pro-Ams behind them. Also, interestingly, there was a great four-way battle forming up towards the sharper end. Of course, exception being Ross Woodford, who's now 7 seconds gone down the road. But there's Blair Mann, Christoph Holstein, Rainer Talvar, and Martin Naderlich all involved in this great scrap going on. No, we have got a problem. It's Kian White. Oh no, the pro winner from last week. He's overcooked that coming through turn one. Little bit too much dust, and that's a big impact into the wall.
One thing that you can say is that perhaps Kian actually hasn't done that much practice, like I was saying, because a lot of the time at Sebring, when you get in that dirt, you don't just light up the rears like Kian has. You can hear it just from his car that he's just kept it planted, and that's not something you want to do in turn one when you go out wide like that.
Oh, that's a lot of fighting going on. What's going on with Michael Edens? He's lost a spot to Gert Sommers. Marvin Sluman's lost a spot to Sarah Dove. Now we're seeing a few overtakes going on in various points in the race, but there's still some really big trains. We look behind Paolo Martins. Look at that lot. That's 26th, right the way down to 38th. In this one train alone. Oh, right at the back of it, someone's wondering, someone's off the road. That is Philippe Gaillard, I think. Oh, flash of the light from the Ferrari. He's not happy about something. And then right behind him is side by side. That's Daniele Mamano and Yatsi Voracek. That's having a bit of a scrap. Oh, they better resolve that pretty quickly. Don't dive on the inside there. Not making it 3 wide at least. The VEC guys are side by side. That's Moraine. Sylvain Moraine's having a terrible race. He's in the pro category. He's right the way down there in 36th, and then he smacks into his own fellow VEC racer. Goodness me.
Like Kian, I've seen Sylvain around in a lot of the ILMS official races, but not many of the IMSA races which are at Sebring, so he might be in the same boat, where he hasn't actually done that many laps around this track this week.
Kian White is out. He has he retired the car to the pits, as we saw, and he has left the session. So we now have 43 drivers, of which Jake Sanders has been through the pits. That's why he's at the tail of the field now. So he must have been listening to you, Nick. He has been through the pits and on his merry way. How long does it take to do to change tyres in these cars?
About 12 seconds, I think it is. But the issue is that you change tires after you have fueled up the car.
So you can't do them all at once?
No, you can't.
Okay.
Which is in the endurance races is quite nice because it gives you the strategic elements of, all right, you know, I don't want to switch the tires and then actually gain 12-second lead. But that's why we normally don't see tire changes in this league as well, because we're not driving far enough for these tires to really go off.
Also, we have to remember that being a night race, the track temperature is a lot lower, so you're going to see a lot less thermal degradation, so the tyres are just not going to be worked as hard, and so the Ferrari drivers will be singing the praises of the track pick and the time of day and the people that decided that.
I see. Oh, I think someone's had a spin. Yep, someone's had a spin. That is Thomas Lagney. Literally just looking through various big groups in the field. Oh, that's the almost Martini livery car, the 237 privateer entry. Thomas Lagney, who's costing himself a lot of time, but he's doing this rejoin correctly. Essentially, he's just having to pick a time where he's not jumping out in front of someone. That's cost him a massive amount of time, but he's done that absolutely right. Fair play to you. And wow, that's someone that's either just come out of the pits or gone miles off track. I'm not entirely sure who that is. Is that Kodeman? That's Martin Kodeman. That's who's. Oh no, he's on a spin! That was right in front of. I think it was. No, there wasn't Holstein.
He's just hit Gorton.
Oh no, it's Gorton! Yeah, well, only Gorton that's been collected in that. Oh, that was that was purely unlucky. Yeah, Andy Gorton's not best happy about that. I can absolutely sympathise with Andy Gorton there. Again, referring to the Project Cars 2 Clear League that I was in. I got caught out by just a very unlucky positioning where someone had a spin in front of me. It wasn't avoidable. It was avoidable from the other person, as unfortunately their momentum carried them backwards onto the racing line. But I can fully sympathise with Andy. There was nothing he could have done to avoid that. Jake Sanders has retired his car back to the pits, so he's had another incident about 2 minutes ago, and that could well be the last we see of Jake Sanders. And Martin Kodeman was in the pits for nearly a full minute. It just dropped him right to the tail of the field. Now having a lap put on him. What's going on with Danny Lindholt? He's got Alfie Lawrenson coming past him, so what's going on there? But a lot of trains going on, but there's still a fair amount of passing going on. Just not necessarily. Just a lot of them are induced by someone else's spin.
I think it's sort of a case of we've just got clusters of people about the similar pace, and maybe just some of them have decided, I want to try and get past these people, and they're starting to bustle with each other, and we're just getting battles. Also, we're approaching a pit stop window fairly soon. I would have thought maybe a couple more laps past this, maybe even a bit more depending on the fuel usage around here. But
oh, trouble! Sarah Dove. Sorry to cut you off, James. That's
fine.
That's that penultimate turn. Yeah, she's kept it out of the wall. And what she's done, quite rightly, is just got her car out of the way. She just bounced on the apex at that penultimate turn.
She was lucky with that one. She was definitely lucky with that.
Yeah.
One of the things I also want to point out with these trains, we might have drivers who are not really that comfortable as well, because it is a different beast to drive at the night.
Yeah.
And with the temperatures and stuff like that, you can actually get it so cold that you're struggling with heat in the tires. Which can really be an issue. You can lose 2, 3, 4 seconds a lap if you get them completely wrong. So that's also an element in this as well.
I think the main thing is being in a train is that you can also, if you're behind someone else in the train, you essentially get double the visibility. You get extra headlights, and so being in the night in a game that iRacing, well, I say recently, in terms of like the grand scheme of iRacing's age, fairly recently have added day to night transitions, and so the whole headlights weren't a big thing, and so it's taken them a while to get them right, and they're still not 100% as good as I think a lot of people would like them to be, but they're much better. But yeah, so they're not great, And so having the extra set might just be a useful thing for some people to see where they're going.
That's all fairly... That's all valid comments. So I am listening to you. I'm trying to see which pack is likely to kind of make a move in anyone. I don't think anyone's really going to be making a move in anyone. Everyone that's in a train is probably happy to remain in that train. We've seen that before. Well, we've seen it many a time before, as Dan and Alpol's just proved me wrong and shot on the inside of Sebastian Riethmüller coming through that final turn.
These guys are really fighting for it.
Brumfield is right under the diffuser of Riethmüller. And you can see, as we're on board with Team Brumfield, you just see how Riethmüller's car's bouncing around. Oh, I thought Brumfield was going to try an inside move there. That would have been a fairly disastrous thing to try.
It is really difficult to get on the inside through turn 1 because you can take different lines through it. So sometimes, you know, a driver in front of you having a different line, which can really mess your line up, and you're maybe closer to him in the middle of the corner and stuff like that. So it can be difficult being this close. Oh, as we just see Apple getting locked up again into turn 7.
Yeah, it's one of those corners because it's such high speed. You can up being on the outside line isn't necessarily a disadvantage because you can carry a lot of speed around the outside, whereas the inside you get quite cramped with your line.
Kern Van Eyck is going to have to start defending his lead in a minute because Tobias Buch is a second behind him. So he's been slowly whittling away at the gap, at the lead for the AM leader. Let's check in with our Pro-Am leader, Craig Dancy. Actually, he only leads his class by about a second. No, he doesn't. It was about a second and a half. It's not that much more. Isaac Morris is only just shy of 2 seconds, give or take. So he's in the same train as Craig Dancy is. So,
but crucially, there's 2 pro cars in between them.
Yeah, Pinsker and Van Putten. It will hardly slow.
Yeah, between Brumfield and Riethmüller. Brumfield was looking left, right to try and find a way to just get alongside. But this is the problem with Sebring, is that you kind of have 2 parts of the track. You have the part of the track where you're thinking, oh, I can overtake. And then you kind of get to the twisty bit and you go, okay, time to see if there's any opportunities. And actually, Brumfield pits.
Yep, he's fed up with being in that particular train. Someone right behind him. That is Pontecorvi, whose name is blank on the overlay for some reason.
A thing that I want to point out as well, as we see Renault Look being very close to Sebring into turn 1. They're going side by side, and
good spot.
Yeah, I was like, that's gonna be easy, but I think Renault just thought, let me get out of here.
Tobias really, well, you could argue that Tobias shouldn't really fight that too much because Renault is in the Pro-Ams and Tobias in the AMs. But we talk about this a fair few times. There's nothing that says they can't fight cars of a different class, but it's not always recommended to do so.
What you have to remember is that Renault is in between Buch and his class leader, so it's not a case of like sometimes there's a time where you've got a car in a faster class approaching you. And you feel like, okay, I should just let them go because they're clearly catching me very quickly. But when it's the other way around and you're in the slower class, but you're catching someone and they're in between you and your goal, it's kind of a case of, well, I need to show them that I want to get past because it's just one of those things where you need to make it very clear your intent.
Oh, Michael Mariani! Oh, that was Alfie Lawrenson that is locked up right behind Mariani. I don't think he did anything wrong. Let's just have a look at that again from over the top on the chopper cam over Alfie Lawrenson. So that is it was Daniel Lindholt who was coming up to. Oh, that was so close. He very nearly caught the back of Daniel Lindholt's car, and Alfie Lawrenson has left the session. That's odd because he got back on track and he went. He's vanished.
Oh, as we have
lots of people have pitted up front.
All in the pits.
Yeah, they all have. So Woodford, Mann, Holstein, Talvard, Dancy, Nadalik, Morris, Van Putten, Gorton, Zommers, Edens. The only person that didn't get the memo was James Pinsker, who's gone into the lead. He's literally the only one that hasn't pitted.
Yeah, but he also, I think it might have been fuel saving. As he was in between the 2 other Team Tepa cars.
Fair point.
And
So-
also the Ford is a bit more fuel efficient. Remember we had one
yes.
very daring Ford driver managed to pull off the one stop in Nürburgring. So,
Yes, that's very true. Ross Woodford's come back out in second position because literally half the field pitted right behind him.
If I, have a sense of Woodford, he would not be happy that he has gone down to P2. even though Pinsker needs a pit stop, he won't be satisfied with that one.
I mean, do you kind of guess that the person ahead of you hasn't pitted, or what their strategy might be, or is there a way to know if they have or haven't been through the pits?
A lot of people will have an overlay called CAPS. That is it's a very common one amongst drivers, and that has a column on one of its overlays that tells you when someone last pitted.
Ah, right.
Also, when you're, when suddenly Holstein see that Sarah is in front of him, he might have thinking, I was at the head, I was in the front, and now Sarah's there. She's probably not good.
Yeah, so you just know who you're realistically up against. Speaking of, actually, Blair Mann lost a second over everyone else around him. He was in the pits for one more second, and that's cost him that net second position. Pinsker is in, and I suspect Sarah Davitt is going to come in this time around. Now, Sarah, she won't thank me for mentioning this again, because I'm sure I mentioned it last time that we were here at Sebring, was she ran out of fuel one season. That's Philippe Gaillard. This comes off slow down penalty. She ran out of fuel on the last lap, and she ran out of fuel right up there at the penultimate corner. Someone tried to push her, and because it was an impact, it was a 4X, and she got disqualified for it.
Yeah, I remember that one in the stewards panel. It was a nightmare. Should she get disqualified? Should she get the place? It was horrible because the guy that pushed her also got disqualified.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
I thought he'd already finished. So
No, disqualified as well.
So the only person that has not been in the pits, from what I can see, is Sylvian Moraine. He's probably just wanted to gain a few positions. Whoa, wow, that's a pack and a half that's ahead of him. So that's Pinsker, Dansky, Van Putten, and Morris in this particular group. That's got Pinsker ahead of the Pro-Am leader Craig Dancy, Isaac Morris.
I think Blair Mann is looking at Holstein now. He's within 0.2 of a second.
With Talvar and Gorton right. So Andy Gorton. Now Andy Gorton was in the pits for 6-7 seconds less than everybody else. That's helped him gain time. But we saw this last week, didn't we? We saw a few people have a really short stop first time around, but just end up. It didn't really work for those guys, if I recall.
I think it depends very much on your situation. If you're out of position after qualifying and now you're having to fight your way through the field, actually taking that shorter fuel stop means that you can get ahead of those people and put in faster lap times and overall it'll work. But if you're fighting people around the same pace as you, it's arguably not much of a different strategy, really. It just, it becomes a bit different.
I did it at Nürburgring, as we see Gorton actually going on the inside of tower into the last corner.
We did.
Oh yes, he did. That's.
Nicely
Let's see if Tower is gonna get back into to turn one, or if Gorton really is gonna defend that quite hard.
Ferrari using those 600 almost prancing horses to keep ahead. It's just. This is when you're a Ford driver, as I've heard from. I've driven the Ford a couple of times, but not that much. But from what I've heard from a lot of Ford drivers, is that you get in the slipstream of a Ferrari and it just becomes demoralising because you barely even gain on them.
Wow.
Yeah, you actually sometimes lose
time. Oh,
well, that was very much the case a couple of seasons ago. Yeah, there were times where you'd basically. Like at Monza, throughout the entire main straight, you'd basically keep the same gap, and you'd be in the slipstream of the Ferrari, and you'd just be like, "What is going on here?"
Yeah, but as I was talking about with the Nürburgring, I did the shorter pit stop at the first time I pitted, and that actually gave me a bit of room to the guy behind me, so I wasn't fighting. I didn't have to look back at him.
Okay.
Which then meant I could just focus on myself, and I just did a bit faster lap times. You need to push a lot more than I did, and when you have less fuel in the car, you also have less weight, which means you don't really use the tires as much, So I was just able to put in the faster consistent lap times.
Sorry, there was a half spin there. It was Marvin Sluman that got a bit squiggly coming through 13, I think that is.
Oh, Andy Gorton's just spun it in the penultimate corner into the wall.
Let's have a look. That's what Sarah Dove did. Yeah, a little bit too wide on the grass, and bang! Sarah at least saved her Ford from hitting the wall, but that's going to be pretty painful for Gorton. That's cost him that fight in that group. Does he come into the pits again?
Yeah, no, what's going on? But that wall, I will say it's not soft. It's
no.
It does hurt when you hit it. Just for everybody.
That sounds like the voice of experience, then, Nick.
It is a sad and hard experience. We did in a 12-hour race, hit the wall a bit there, and bent the steering in hour 1 of the 12 hours.
Oh dear.
And completed the race in a Daytona prototype.
Gorton's very lucky there because he hit it at an angle you'd expect him to break his suspension, but riding on board, his steering going down the straight seems pretty much perfect. So that's probably why he hasn't pitted, because he's not been forced to, because there's enough suspension damage. So might as well continue on since the pit stop was only a couple of laps ago, and so it just cost him so much time pitting now. But
Cohen Van Eyck's off. Oh no, the AM leader. That's like turn 1. He's gone too wide. Yeah, he couldn't hold it around the outside. Backwards. Did he hit the wall? He did it. Well, he nudged the wall. Oh no, disaster for Cohen Van Eyck. That's dropped him quite a long way down now. That's 33rd overall. And Tobias Book takes over the AM lead. That's 5th in the AMs for Cohen now. Tobias will be quite happy with that, I'm sure. Yeah, even the great Cohen Van Eyck is making a mistake here. That just shows how easy it is to drop the car.
Oh, definitely. So, he's losing again. And that's a hit. Oh my god. He will be so angry with that one.
Oh, it's turn 7 again.
Yeah.
Well, from the chopper cam, it didn't look like there was impact. That's Daniele Mamano that's gone past him. I didn't hear a bang.
From what we've seen today, drivers making mistakes all over the place.
It is, as well. But that's also what makes this track so fun to drive when you're here, because you just every time when you set a lap and you just know that one was a good lap, and you just know it. Because you were just close to crashing all the time, then that's a good lap. And then you crash and then you tears.
I mean, I always like to think of it as sort of, well, back in especially the older days when you'd have a lot more of the convergence, I always used to think of it as Daytona 24 was where you took the car to test the engine to see if it would last 24 hours.
As we have Lehman and Tava side by side into turn 10. Sorry to cut you off there.
That's fine.
Close battle. They were almost hitting each other into turn 7 and 8.
Actually, Blair's made a mistake somewhere, because he was
I
fairly
think so,
comfortable ahead of Rayner, and suddenly he's fallen off the back of Holstein, and also Blairman's on 10 incident points as well. So, I mean, that's not. He's bang on halfway, and we're over halfway in we're at halfway in the race. He needs to think about that one. We do have some zeros still on the board. Not many. Isaac Morris is still on 0 instance. Dan Alpol. Who else? Alejandro Portacorvi. And that's all of them. Just 3.
And you were saying, sorry, cut you off before.
Oh, I was just saying how, what I was saying was that Daytona 24 is sort of where you take a car to test its engine to see if it lasts 24 hours. Sebring is where you take your car to see if the suspension and the chassis can survive 24 hours, because it only takes 12 hours at Sebring to test that if you were going to Lamont.
I remember that Audi is,
something's happened to Mikhail Toman. Sorry to cut you off there, Nick.
Yeah.
Oh, is he had another? Oh no, that's a turn 1 incident. Oh, he had a big twitch, tried to correct it, and off into the wall. And he has retired his car. Mikhail Toman is out.
I know that the Audi LMP1 they did test the 12-hour race here, and just when they did practice testing, they just took a test for 12 hours. Because if their car could do 12 hours...
Sorry, again, cut you off. Sarah Dove's going backwards.
That's never a good thing.
Oh, she had a bit of a nudge with what I think was Sam Blackwood. Yeah, but I think... Yeah, she just kind of had a bit of a... That was a bit of an odd one, that. Not sure what caused that. Maybe it's, hit the brakes a little too hard and lock the rears up, but that was a bit of a weird one.
It's just that it appears that Blackwood hasn't turned as much as Sarah was. Well, I think he's just turning a bit later than Sarah was expecting.
I see. I'm cutting you both off. I'm terribly sorry.
I mean, how rude of these drivers to actually be having a chaotic race going.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
When we're trying to have a nice conversation.
A civilized conversation. We're just having a podcast, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. But yes, as Audi, they always took, if their car could do 12 hours around Sebring, they knew that it would do 24 hours at Le Mans.
Yeah, I can understand that.
It's such a grueling track, and we're seeing that with the amount of mistakes. I mean, we saw at Suzuka another very tricky technical track, and we've come to another one, and it's just separating the men from the boys, as people might say, and it's just we're getting very differing results from certain drivers.
Absolutely. Just to remind you who the actual race leader is, we haven't looked at him for a while. Here's the 101 of Ross Woodford. I can't see who he's catching. That must be Philip Schiff, who hasn't unfortunately been able to recover too much from his pit lane start. Ross Woodford now leads by nearly 16 seconds now over what is now Christoph Holstein, as Rainier Talvar and Blair Mann swapped round earlier, as we saw. They are in their own little squabble for third position in the pros. Pro-Am's being led by Craig Dancy, who is in 8th position overall. He's had a fairly steady race. He's been in and amongst the pros all race long, and he's right behind James Pinsker. He's very much minded his own business. Isaac Morris is there. He's only 2 seconds behind. He's been about 2 seconds behind Craig for a long time. Gert Zommers, who's third in the Pro-Ams, is a further 9.2 behind. The AMS is being led now by Tobias Book in 22nd. The next AM down the road is James Boniface, who is about 5 seconds or so behind. And then it's a fairly big gap. Actually, it's not that big a gap. There's just a lot of people in it between himself and Michael Mariani. That's about 5.5, 6 seconds to the good for James Boniface. We're still seeing. Oops! I've commented curse someone. Who is that? That is Yahtzee Voracek. That's the turn 7 curse. That is catching a lot of people out. Oh, there!
It's a deceivingly tricky corner.
It is. It really is. It's bumpy just as you are in the braking zone, and you're at the max braking, and the car is just getting so loose down there.
It's never good to be that loose.
It always, it's one of those corners where you feel like you can brake later, like you instinctively think, I can brake later into it, but then for some reason, like even when it doesn't even feel like you hit a bump, the car just doesn't stop, and it's just a really deceptive corner in that way, because the car just doesn't slow down.
Yeah.
And it's also a corner where I at least experience, when you're going down there and you're just braking and you're thinking, I braked too early. Now I'm gonna brake a bit later, and
then it just doesn't stop, does it?
Exactly. And then it's tears. So it's like, it's just so close. As we have Blackwood getting very close to Marvin Saluman into turn 1, and he's going forward. That's never really gonna be a pass right there. Blackwood, you need to be closer.
Yeah, there's no braking. Was very little braking going on into turn 1. You've got more of a shot here at turn 3, even though there is a turn 2 along that straight, believe it or not. I'm looking at the map and I can't see it. Daniele Mamano and Tom Hooper have swapped round, but they're not in the same class, and that's not really of any particular consequence. So I'm actually surprised that we still have, we're well over halfway in the race now, and still have quite a few, 3 8-car trains. So there's a few 4-car trains in places.
Yeah, it's quite an odd one. I mean, it's not a track where you'd expect everyone to always be able to get past somebody, especially if you've got cars of the same make or cars with slightly faster engines in the front of the trains, because you end up with a lot of sections where you can't pass, and then you get some sections where you can. But if you waste the opportunity, you've got to wait another lap until you get to that section again. And there are obviously a finite number of laps between the start and the finish of the race, so you sometimes have to pick your opportunities.
I will say this is also a race that it has really kicked up. Oh,
sorry, Nick. Jack Anderak has. Oh, that's a massive slide going on at 10:15. Oh, that's close. Get out of the way, and he does indeed. He's driven off the racing line. So of course, disadvantaged him, but he's done the much safer route. And if you reverse too, he's hit the wall trying to recover. That's made his day even worse. And he's still trying to recover, unfortunately. He's back underway now, but it wasn't in the replay. It took him a very, very long time to recover. He's now in 31st position. And yep, you can see from that silhouette that you can see that rear wing is no longer straight. So that's damage on that car. And I wonder whether he's bringing that in, didn't he?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think that the rear suspension is having a fun time anymore.
Nope.
It's weird because it's actually, it was just as he was doing his little 3-point turn, I guess you'd call it. I mean it was a bit of an unorthodox one, but yeah, doing sort of a 3-point turn. It just slammed. It's not even. What even was that? It was a 30-km/h impact, 29-km/h impact.
Wow.
And it was pretty much square as well, so I can't imagine there's much suspension damage there. But apparently so.
Yeah, we look at.
He was very slow coming down that straight.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
if you look at this, if you look at this, race, we have our championship pro-am leader of the race, and we have our championship leader last in the race. So it is a race that is really kicking up in the championship.
Yeah, it's really going to shuffle the order somewhat.
And then we have Woodford.
Yeah, and then Ross happened.
I remember, I think it was after Suzuki. I don't know whether this was on broadcast or whether this was just something else I saw him say, but he said that, oh yeah, I'm probably not going to be that quick in Suzuki. Let me come to Sebring, I'll be quick again. And he was spot on with that. Like, yeah, he wasn't very quick last week out in Spain, and then this week he was just, I'm back to being on pole by half a second and just storming away.
Let's run off, yeah. Well, man true to his word.
Yeah.
But didn't Ross have to do like a 1 or 2 lap splash and dash this season?
No, we had the slight issue he had when he had to take his longer pit stop for his unsafe pit entry in Le Mans.
Oh yes, that's what I'm thinking of.
Main issue, yeah.
I thought he was having a tyre change, but it was he got the pit lane entry wrong, which undid all his hard work.
Yeah, and it's a very easy pit lane to get wrong.
Oh, Le Mans, yeah.
They were like, we're just going to stick 2 chicanes in the middle of the pit entry. Have fun with that.
For no justifiable reason in the slightest.
No,
it slows down the cars and gives...
The problem is you slow down the car, and then, especially considering that they have hybrid prototype cars there, so you slow down the car, and then you get out of the first chicane, and then your boost deploys automatically. And so you're now back up to like twice or 3 times the pit limit speed, so you've got to slow down again.
See, that's your issue. You're using automatically boost.
I don't use auto. I just, the boost doesn't have a point where it just automatically does.
Then you're going too slow down there.
Well, I've got to make the chicane, otherwise I get my pit lane stop go for unsafe pit entry.
All I'm hearing is excuse. as we have Andy Gorton going into the pits.
Andy Gorton in the pits again, yeah. Oh, Nick the very harsh team manager there. The Domino team has a very hard
I'd
team
like
principle.
to conserve my Audi boost a lot of the time when I could, because there isn't much of it to go around, but yeah.
No, definitely. As we are seeing the second round of pit stops coming in now, as I see Alex Smith going into the pits as well.
He stopped very early.
Yeah.
And it's been a staple of his strategies this season. Is that he's decided to do a lot of undercuts, but they don't tend to work in GTE races because you tend to set your fastest lap times when you're on lower fuel. So perhaps if he just changed the strategy up, he might work his way higher up the field. But he's chosen that strategy for most of his races, so he must prefer it for some reason.
It might also just be, for safety, that you actually get away from all the battles. So that might be one of the reasons to pick this strategy.
Rainer Talbot is now giving Christoph Holstein some company. With Talbot having binned Blair Mann. What's going on with Sam Blackwood? Ooh, that's close.
Just got passed by Marvin Sluman, and he's not happy about that.
He's not happy about something, is he? What happened here? So that's the BMW of Marvin Sluman. No, sorry, that's Sam Blackwood coming past the Ferrari, I think. Oh, that'll be what... Marvin was a little hesitant on the gas. That's inappropriate flashing of the lights, sir. There's still
Blackwood should take his big pants, boy pants on and just put on.
Wow, Mr. Domino, we're seeing a whole new side of you coming out now. I'd be too scared to drive for your team.
No, well, our team manager fired all the team after Daytona. So I'm used to it.
He's taking the hard line. Well, this will be your teaching experience. That's what's hardened your shell.
Oh, that's it.
Believe me, I've worked in childcare. You need a hard shell when you're dealing with kids. Oh, that's Marvin Slim and Sam Blackwood side by side again. Coming through the final turn. The Ferrari ahead of the BMW. And Sam is determined. Well. Sam is clearly not pleased by Marvin's a little hesitancy on the throttle a few corners ago. Sam trying an outside manoeuvre around turn 1. You better get the grip when you need it. And he did. Oh, someone ahead of them has had trouble. Philippe Gaillard's gone into the pit. I heard someone having a big slide, I think. Well, the car directly ahead of them. It's Rano Luke, and Marvin Sluman has just slotted back ahead of Sam Blackwood again. But Sam's having another go on the outside of turn 6. Well, again, Marvin's going to have the inside for 7. Well, I'll give Sam his due. He's determined on this one, but it's not really, it's not helping him any.
Well, so you're pushing the guy in front of you to make a mistake. You can be really aggressive against them and just let them know that you're there.
Well, he's doing that all right.
Yeah, that's a tactic that I also kind of use sometimes, and some drivers just can't handle it and just gives you the position.
Sometimes they'll just make the split decision that's the wrong one in terms of what line they take to defend or where they brake or whatever, just because you're putting that extra pressure on them. Like, for example, going back to the prototype situation, I had a race yesterday, I think it was, on iRacing, where I was battling someone through the GTE traffic and I was pushing them as hard as possible, and he just made that wrong decision as to which side to go, and he just went into the wall. And it's just those small margins that sometimes people just make the wrong decision under pressure.
That is quite, the error. You can go right, you can go left, and then hit the side to the wall. That's...
Yep.
Yeah.
That's automatically the wrong decision, as once again, Sam and Marvin side by side through that final turn.
Side. That's...
And still, the BMW is put back in his place by the Ferrari. Sam doesn't look like he's got... Now, is it the slipstream he's picking up at the crucial moments that's giving him that extra pace, or is he that little bit quicker than Marvin at the moment?
I think they're very evenly paced.
Wow! Oh! No!
Lock up from Marvin there, just sending him to the side of Blackwood. And that's what happens when sometimes you push too hard.
Yeah. Marvin's only just got going again. That's Marvin on 16 incident points now. Sam has already got company in the form of James Boniface, who is right next to him. And Sam is now on 17 incident points because of that, so he's got to be very, very careful. James backs out of that. Right behind James is Paolo Martins. Right ahead is the struggling Michael Edens. Sure. Michael has said that he's rude choosing the Ferrari. He really has struggled this season. It's a great shame because he has been absolutely rapid in previous races. So yeah, that's going to ruffle Sam's feathers somewhat, I'd have thought.
Yeah. He did the thing where he put the pressure on, and Marvin did make a mistake. Unfortunately, it was the mistake into the side of him.
Yes, it was caught in the collateral on that one.
I will say, I am quite a fan of James, last name, who won the race. That is quite a last name.
Yep. I'm sure he agrees with it.
Well, it's nothing like I remember McPhil had in the Santa Corsa days. We had a driver that was called Ticklish Pickle Wiggle.
Oh yes, he's a Project Cars 2 moderator.
Yeah. And we had the end of the season, where we had to rate who's the best driver and the most improved. And McPhil, who was the commentator, just Ticklish Pickle Wiggle everywhere. He was his favorite driver. He lost his mind every time they looked at him. it was amazing. That was you can't just make it up.
I remember doing a Le Mans commentary on PCARS 2. It was a commentary at Le Mans. I think it was part of the Endurance League I was covering back then for AOR, and I remember this particular race because I had a really, really bad throat, and I had 2.4 hours of Le Mans to cover. That was fun on my own, which I knew going into it, so it was my own fault for continuing it. But show must go on. And there was a gentleman there who's, again, I just read the name out and couldn't help but burst out laughing. And I meant no disrespect. I just found the name. You read something, you just find it funny.
Yeah.
And the gentleman, the driver's name was Flaming Parrot.
Oh.
And
was that the Endurance League, or was that the Triple Crown event?
No, that was Endurance League.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it was the Endurance League. It was Le Mans, anyway. And I read out Flaming. I read out Flaming Parrot's name. I couldn't help but burst out laughing. I'm terribly sorry. It's very unprofessional of me, but that's a brilliant name. Oh wow, there's a big scrap going on towards the tail end of the field with Alex Smith, Karen Van Eyck, Daniele Mamano, Daniel Lindholt, and Alejandro Portacorvi. Big scrap there. Actually, now talking about the race that we've been covering for the last hour. That's just the nature of this race, unfortunately. It's just been one of those that's been very strategic, so we filled the air with lots of entertaining things. We hope you that have been watching have enjoyed it with us. As Sam
we
Blackwood.
also have a lot of entertaining things to talk about.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
I mean, sometimes you just have to, with sports cars and lengthier races, these kind of things, you sometimes just end up with this, with a sort of a podcast thing with the racing in the background.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you got to think that if those that cover the Le Mans 24 hours, the real life commentators cannot talk about the race and full action all the time for 24 hours. And wouldn't you die to trying to do that? But two, that's not the nature of endurance racing. It isn't all 100% balls to the wall racing. But one thing that did make me laugh, I think I mentioned this in the previous stream, but I forget which stream it was I mentioned it in. I thought Marvin Sleeman had. Marvin Sleeman's just lost a spot to Michael Mariani, but again, not in the same category. I think it was 2018. There was an entry in Le Mans referred to as the Pink Pig Porsches.
Yes, this was the Porsche special liveries for their, I want to say, either 70th or 90th anniversary.
Who's that's off the road?
Philip
Schiff.
He's not having a great race.
No, he's not at all, is he? Did he fall off the road, or did he try and get out of people's way? No, he fell off the road. Oh, wow, that's a first. He actually bounced off of the apex wall.
Honestly, I'm surprised that's the first time that's happened this race, especially being in the dark. It's a very easy corner to do that, and so we're now an hour in, and it's only just happened. I was expecting that one a lot earlier.
But the Pink Pig reference, what made me laugh was that there was, I don't know the name of the two regular commentators for Le Mans, but Karun Chandok was with them in the box at this specific point. It was only about an hour and a half in. It was very early in the race, and one of the commentators said something along the lines of, it's great marketing for someone, but it's not very good marketing for the Pink Pig Porsches. They're all wearing the same Pink Pig. They're all in the same Pink Pig livery with the same Pink Pig overalls and now the same Pink Pig helmet. And Karun Chandok said, have you got a bet on how many times you can say the words Pink Pig in 24 hours? I thought that was brilliant that they were allowed to have that kind of that kind of banter at a high profile event such as the Le Mans 24 Hours.
I mean, that's what you tune in for endurance racing for, because you expect the commentary to be on sort of the podcasty, bantery sort of level, because it's the only way they can keep themselves awake as Holstein pits in front of Talvar.
And Woodford's been in the pits. His second stop's done, or doing, I should say. Blair Mann and Martin Lake have come in. Rainer Talvar will take over the lead of the race. Ross Woodford comes out. Was coming out. Oh, he's going to have a bit of traffic. He won't like that. Pinska's just gone through. So Pinska, as we saw earlier on the Contra strategy, here we go. Big swath of cars coming through the pits.
I think Woodford's got a fairly level head on him, overthinking. I got 16 seconds lead.
Yeah.
There's no point taking brash moves. The problem with what he's got at the moment is when you have a car in front of you that doesn't quite take the apex, that's also a lap. You don't really know what they're trying to do. You don't know whether they're trying to let you through or whether they've actually just missed the apex. And you don't you can't read them well enough.
Well, that was Sam Blackwood. There was almost caught out there, but has jumped out of the way of the leaders.
You said 16. That's a couple of laps ago. Wasn't he up to?
I think it was actually over 20 seconds.
Yeah.
So
20 seconds when he pitted.
Well, Ross might ignore top gear for a while. Maybe just tease those behind him. Rayner and Christoph. I doubt
It's
it.
interesting to see Rayner's in lap to see whether he can jump Holstein and get up into a fairly unexpected P2, given the fact that, personally, I was not expecting the Ford to be a good car around here, and I think that's Thomas Lanny that he's just gone past on the exit of turn 16, spun out without a bonnet.
Where's Thomas Lange? There he is. Oh dear, that's not a happy looking Ferrari. Oh yes, he's on 19 incident points now because of that. That happened at turn 16, and he hit that wall exceedingly hard. Oh wow, he cannot turn. He cannot turn around such a bend. He's had to really go slowly, let most of the field through. Now he's going to have to basically jump across the field. He's stopped.
Yeah, I think
waiting for it.
Be...
Is he going to? No, he's still going. He's just scampering. He's playing Frogger with everybody.
As Chef is just getting into the pits.
So that's put Thomas Langley right the way down to 36th out of our remaining 39 drivers. Oh, goodness me.
He tried to take a couple of weight off the car, and it hasn't worked.
Well, yeah, we saw quite a few people trying that last week to much the same kind of result too.
Talvar has jumped Holstein by 3.5 seconds.
How the hell? Well, Holstein lost 1.5 seconds of that in the pit lane.
Holstein were really slow getting into the pits compared to.
Oh, he was. Yeah, that's where the time's been lost.
Yeah, and then again, if he had gotten out in some traffic and lap cars where Talvar hasn't, that can be it.
Yeah,
he will be in.
We technically have a battle for the lead at the moment. It's not really, but it is technically. Because Ross Woodford and James Pinsker are right with one another, but I think we know what the outcome of this is going to be. Bearing in mind, James has not been through the pits for his second stop yet. So Tom Hooper's just come in.
I expect to see that Ford in the pit lane this lap then, because he's gone 2 laps longer than a lot of people, so shouldn't have that big of a fuel tank. And oh, that's a BMW getting very squirrely out of the
That's
Daniel Mamano.
Mamano. Yeah, he's gotten out of the way. He's not interested in being involved in that one. And Penske's not let Ross go, interestingly.
He doesn't really need... Like, there's no point just lifting
there we
off for no reason to let him go and lose unnecessary time. It's kind of one of those ones where it's like, if he pulls alongside me, I'll let him go through.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'll just continue with my race.
Yeah, and Woodford will also be like, there's no point in me doing a, you know, bold maneuver or anything like that. That could, you know, potentially end in tears because I'm so far ahead.
That is true. Oh, Holstein's got Blair Man right on his tail. That's not what Holstein would have wanted. He'd much rather have been with Talvar, but that's not the way it's worked out. Blair Man is keeping him very much company. James Pinsker comes back out of the pits in 6th position with Martin Nederleek. Next guy up the road. There he is. I think that's everybody. Oh no, not quite. A few people yet to serve their second stop. Sarah Dove and Chris Yardley. Oh no, Sarah Dove is in. And I imagine Yardley's going to come in as well. Yep, Chris Yardley brings the grinning Ford in. Michael Edens, I thought he's been through the pits 3 times. So his race is once again gone very, very wrong for him. Blair Man.
Hallowell is still out there with only 1 pit stop. That could actually be quite interesting to see where he ends up in this one.
Who is?
John Hallowell. Or is it just mine?
I think that might be you.
Off the track again. That's mine again. I had that last
You
week
did.
as well.
You got caught out with that last week.
Yeah, he pitted on lap 32, as did a lot of people, so yeah, he's in sync with everybody else.
Okay.
Blair Man is really piling the pressure onto Holstein. Those 2 BMWs are so close. That could
If he
really
gets
end
any
in tears.
closer, he can, sit down and look into the cockpit of his car.
Yeah, open the boot, Christoph. He wants to get in.
Yeah.
Right ahead of
Holstein
them.
got a much better run through turn 16 though. I mean, it was a very weird line because he didn't seem to get the best. Didn't look like he was going to get a very good run, but he just managed to carry so much more speed.
Oh yeah.
But this is the time when just running the numbers, just hitting the marks, isn't going to do it anymore. If you're going to make a move, you're running out of time to do it. So now people are going to be really pushing to get those moves done. So they're very close together coming through turn 1. There's someone that's gone horribly wrong ahead of them. I don't know who that is. No, it wasn't Cohen.
As that was. I can't even see.
Can't see who
It was Lindholt.
Oh no, not Daniel Lindholtz.
But he was just he couldn't stop on the grass. He basically couldn't stop himself almost rejoining, and he was so close to wiping out the 2 as they came past.
He handled that as well as he could do then. As he didn't hit the brakes, he didn't cause a spin, and thus got back underway again. So whilst Blair Man is piling the pressure on for that podium spot, who else is in a fight at the moment? We still have a battle down here. That is Tobias Book at the top of this particular pack. And Sarah Dove is stationary again at that final turn. Ow! Goodness me, she's had an argument with the wall. What on earth happened here? She was on her own. Not the rear brakes? Oh no, the tail just started to bounce her towards the wall. She couldn't turn out of it. And then just got no choice but to stay still.
Oh, we have a car going the opposite way in the last corner. Is that Yardley?
It's Chris Yardley. Yeah. Oh, yeah, he's... now... Yeah, final turn. So what's he done here?
Oh, he's tried to avoid Sarah, and it has just gone horribly wrong for him.
Yeah, there he goes. As the bumps are vicious down there. Sarah Dav is back in the pits again after that massive impact. Likely to be the last we see of her. As Blair Man continues to keep the pressure on Christoph.
Blair's problem is he doesn't seem to have the edge in the one crucial corner you need, which is turn 16. Holstein just gets such a better run than him. He just keeps him ahead for those 2 straights, and then Blair just starts catching him through the rest of the lap.
And they're gaining on Rayner as well. They gained 4/10 last time around. It's now 2.8 seconds between themselves and Rayner Talvar. And of course Ross Woodford is a full second quicker than all of them.
Yeah. Well, we have, you know, Pro, and
And Ross.
yeah, today.
Yeah,
That
very
is-
Yeah,
well
we have
said.
Pro Point 1.
That we do. Let's have a quick look at where our class leaders are. Ross Woodford, 23.3 seconds in the lead now. Coming through the last couple of turns. Craig Dancy still leading the way in the programs as we are well into the final 10 minutes of this race. Isaac Morris 2.5 seconds behind him.
They have been at that distance the whole race.
And Isaac Morris is one of the few, if not the only, 0 incident point. Yes, he is the only person on 0. We have a 20 incident point. That's Thomas Lackney.
You do know that you should say those kind of stuff at the end when they have crossed the line.
I know.
Hashtag
But there wouldn't be a
commentator
commentator if I didn't commentate a curse people.
That's true.
And the AMs being led by Tobias Book, with James Boniface right with him as well. And they lapped to about 300ths of a second apart. What's happened to Sylvian Moraine? He's stationary. What's gone on with the... Oh dear, now he's unhappy with someone. That, I think, might be Jerzy Voracek. He's given... so whilst he was flashing at the Ferrari, he's gone off the road, and I think he's actually gone off again. So he's now trying to recover from this particular spin. He's trying to find a...
That, good sir.
I mean, I don't know why he was flashing at Tom Hooper there, because although Hooper had made a mistake in turn 1, it was the most ambitious dive I've seen from Sylvain Moraine. And of course, and Tom Hooper rightfully shut the door on him, because he was just saying, "You're not lunging me from that far back, because it's just not going to be a move that's on really." And then Moraine gets angry and just spins because he was caught on the curb and probably had a bit too much speed from the dive. And yeah.
And it was for position as well. He wasn't lapping.
Yeah,
Tom,
it wasn't
so...
a lap car. If it was a lap car, I can understand his frustration. But it was a positional move, and it was just an ambitious dive, really.
I'm still watching Silver because I think he may have... Oh, no, someone ahead of him made a problem, had a problem. Potentially... Is that Mamano? Yeah, that was Daniele Mamano. So, no, it was somebody else having a problem. But, yeah, that's... a moment of frustration rather undid itself. And that'll, ironically, that will add to the frustrations for Sylvian, because he knows that was completely his own mistake, taking his eye off the ball to cause that spin, and Holstein's lost time on Talvar. Well, more likely that Talvar has got his foot down a bit to maintain that gap. So we are heading towards the final 5 minutes. There is Rainer Talvar at the bottom of the shot in the brightly coloured Ford.
We had just a Blair man up in Towers getting so close to Holstein that he could almost pick his nose. They're just so close at the moment.
Yeah.
If one of them is making a mistake, that will end horribly.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, if Holstein drops it, he's likely to collect Blairman with him, and if Blairman misses his breaking point, he's taking Holstein with him, like it or not.
Yeah, people, men will cry at that point. they will not be happy with this if that happens.
I had a similar situation, ironically coming back to the Clio Cup I'm racing in at Suzuka, with someone coming into the pits, but because the track was wet, he couldn't slow down and get out of my way. I was right under his rear wing. I didn't read it quick enough that he was going into the pits. I bounced off of him and someone bounced off of me. So again, I can understand that particular situation. It's one of the few driving situations I know. I don't do a lot of racing. I sit in the commentary box. There's a dance like comfier in there again. He's Blairman very close to Holstein, but you can see how defensive Holstein's having to be, even at strange positions. Blairman is absolutely determined to get that last podium position.
And yeah, this is the thing. Blair seems to be faster in every single corner, apart from this penultimate one that we're about to come up to soon. And he's...
Oh my goodness, that was never gonna work.
He gave it a try nonetheless.
Just look at how slow he is through that turn 16. I mean, I know he missed the apex, but normally he doesn't. That's the one corner you need to get right, and it's just the one that Holstein has the edge. So he's got other opportunities.
That's a Ferrari going backwards behind his Martin Naderleek. What on earth happened here? It's that grass again. Well, he managed to flick his car around the other way. So instead of piling into the wall, he actually managed to, well, not save it as such, but he saved hitting the wall.
Woodford is off. Woodford has been off. Into Christensen corner.
Oh! Well, well, well.
Well, that's just going to cut the lead in half.
Yeah. And there he goes, just drops it. Coming through turn 3. Keeps out of people's way.
You said cut the lead in half. He's down to 23.
He's 23, no, 14 seconds now.
14.
So
Yeah, all right.
I was thinking, hang on, that lead shouldn't be that high unless everyone behind you made the same mistake, which of course they didn't. Less than 3 minutes to go then of this race as Woodford's got a lot of traffic ahead of him. He's catching to the back of Kyle Van Eyck, Victor Matios, and somebody else in that pack that isn't there for position. There is Ross Woodford. Holstein still with Blair Mann for company. Renaud Talvar just going through the shot as he's just put a lap on. I believe that's Yahtzee Voracek.
Holstein missed the apex into Cunningham.
On the nose of Blair Mann. That's what he's been staring at for quite a while. Well, since the pit stop phase, really.
If you look at from Blair Mann, front of the car going into Sunset Bend, you will see how much these cars are bouncing. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, as we're bouncing through that penultimate corner. And again, Holstein just... Oh, wow, look how defensive Holstein went. Really early, jumping to that inside line.
You saw how well Blair Mann went through the penultimate corner and thought, oh, he might actually have a run on me this time.
But just look here, I was just bouncing all over the place. Ooh, they're getting wide there.
I think Mann had to check up a little bit because Holstein sort of parked it on the apex. And yeah. Oh, interestingly, it looks as if Woodford's spin has taken a lap off the lap count for this race. So this should now be the final lap.
Yeah, it has. We are down to our final lap now. That's why he wanted to do it. He wants to wrap this up quicker.
Yeah.
Oh, flash of the lights from Holstein.
He's now seen that white flag and he's gone, look, right, one more lap, just please get out of my way.
I'm not sure who that is that's directly ahead. I'm getting the wrong car. I'm not sure who that is. Might be Pontecorvi.
Man made a bit of a mistake in turn 7. Who'd have thought it? Just a bit too deep, and yeah, that just has probably cost him the opportunity now. As Holstein actually into the next hairpin gets a bit wayward.
Here we go again. Where is Ross? He's coming through. He's coming out to the penultimate turn. Oh, Blair Mann must be. Christoph must be absolutely sweating. He's been fending off Blair Mann for so long, and Blair Mann
try that dive again.
No.
Holstein was a bit defensive though. That's going to compromise him through the S section.
Well, Blair Mann's too close, really, to capitalise on it. But your winner here in Sebring, a very dominant, very well-deserved drive. It is the 101 Radicals Online Sim-Mortal driver of Ross Woodford. Brilliantly done. Second is going to be this man, Renaud Talvar, the 121 Team Tepper Ford. Again, a very nicely driven effort there. Holstein bounces around that final turn. Just manages to fend off Blair Mann, but barely. Well driven from both of them. Christoph takes the last podium spot. Blair Mann 4. James Pinsker is going to cross the line in 5th position. Where's our Pro-Am man? There he is. Craig Dancy's led from lights to flag. Isaac Morris is going to be second by about 3.5 seconds, but is the only driver to maintain a 0 instant point count. Very nicely done. Martin Daedelig has come into the pits with the checkered flag out. That's going to cost you time, but it might not have actually cost you anything at all. An unusual one.
I'm very confused here because it appears that everyone's still racing really hard. So maybe the white flag didn't come out.
Unless it didn't come out. I thought it did. Yeah, everyone is still...
All the things I've got is telling me that the last lap should have been the last lap, but apparently not. Apparently we've got another one.
All right, we're doing lap 41 again, apparently. That caught me out as well. Well, I've been caught out the other way far too many times. I mean, Christoph Holstein had probably fairly furious at that.
It's because the last lap calculation thing is a bit weird in that even if you do cross the line after the amount of time has elapsed, if you didn't receive the white flag beforehand, it doesn't count. So although Woodford crossed the 80-minute mark when he crossed the line, because the white flag hadn't been shown to them, it didn't count.
And Martin Naderleek comes out in 19th position. Oh, how he would have wanted that last lap to have vanished. Well, let's try this again. It doesn't look like anyone other than Martin Naderleek has changed position. Yeah, there we go. Checker flag is now being displayed. There we go. Bit of a wiggle. We know when it's actually time when they wiggle and flash the lights. Ross Woodford takes the win. 15.7 seconds down the road is going to be this man, Rainer Talbot. But let's keep an eye on that battle for third. Once again, Holstein manages to fend off the advances of Blairman. Over the line, flash of the lights from Blair. And that is third, and that's a Ford in the wall. Fourth is going to be Pinsker. And fifth is going to be Arshin. Then it's going to be Craig Dancy taking the Pro-Am win. That's the lights. Yep, all of these positions I read out before are still correct, including the 0 incident point for Isaac Morris. He managed to hold on to that one. And Gert Zommers is going to take third in the Pro-Am class. Nicely driven. And the AM win is going to go to Tobias Book, who's still some way down the road. So he has got company in the form of well, James Boniface is second in class, but isn't. Oh no, he is the card already behind.
Yeah, he could still, really get this if Tobias is making any mistake. So Tobias still needs these last couple of corners to make sure that he's getting this win.
And Tobias has been in the class lead for a long time now.
After he kind of got it handed to him by Van Eyck.
Well, that's true, but he still had the pace to hang on to it, in fairness.
Yeah, definitely. But
it was Cohen's to lose towards the beginning of the race. But Tobias Book is going to take the AM win with James Boniface second. There he is, just revving the engine coming over the line. And Michael Mariani is already he's already crossed the line. He's a lap down. So he was third in the AMs. Right. To confirm then, Ross Woodford takes the win by a country mile and fastest lap by a huge amount as well. 7/10 to the good of Ross Woodford. Then it is Talvar, Holstein, Mann, Pinsker, Van Putten, Dancy taking the Pro-Am win. Morris, Gorton, Zommers, Alpol, Brumfield, Halliwell, Riethmuller, Schmidt, Luke, Pontecorvi, Edens, Naderleek, Thomas Book taking the Tobias Book taking the AM win. Boniface, Hooper, Martins, Mariani, Van Eyck, Matios, Voracek, Blackwood, Gaillard, Moraine, Yardley, Lodato, Lindholt, Sluman, Koderman, Schiff, Lagney, Mamano. Those that didn't see the flag were Dove, Anderek, Toman, Lawrenson, Sanders, and White. Now we break.
Okay. I have just received a message from our race winner saying that he cannot make the interview because his Discord voice call is not working very well.
I see. We have a lot of people, actually not all of the people in the Ready for the Interview box are for us. So
Yeah.
Let's have a chat with, actually I need to get the music I'm running first, so let's grab that.
Mr. Ticklish Pigwiggle is actually in the...
Ticklish Pigwiggle, funny we mentioned him, he's actually in the Ready to Interview box, but he wasn't with us as far as I know.
No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't.
Let's have a chat with... Oh, who should we chat with first? Actually, before I was going to grab Christoph Holstein, he's in the box. I'd actually grab Andy Gorton. Oh, you're very quiet, sir. Speak to us again.
Fine. Can you hear me?
Yep, there we go.
Oh,
We can now hear you.
Okay.
Well, you had an interesting one. A lot of people had interesting races, admittedly, but you had a few more wars than some.
And he's gone.
And he's gone quiet again. Can you hear us, Andy?
try that again. Is that okay?
There we go. Yes, we can hear you. You had a bit of a tumultuous race this time.
Yeah, I had an argument with a couple of walls there. Yeah, it's certainly one of my more eventful races. Just lack of practice, really. So poor qualifying. Had to fight through the field and just pushing too hard to try and catch people up. So yeah, a couple of mistakes there. Wasn't my best.
You are not alone in that particular front. So was it a case of not a fan of the track, practicing for Watkins Glen? What led you to lack of practice for this one?
Newborn baby. That's what it's.
That's a pretty damn good reason. Congratulations to you, sir. Hope you're all well.
She's 7 months, but still, it takes up a lot of my time now. So,
believe you me, I know.
Yeah. So yeah, I literally just put it to bed and joined the session, and it was qualifying. So yeah, I was straight in the deep end there.
Oh, very.
You don't hear Lewis Hamilton saying that, do you?
Funny that. So with only a few rounds remaining, it's Watkins Glen we have next. I think it's Watkins Glen we have next. Looking forward to that one?
Yeah. Don't know how
sure?
the Ferrari will be around there, but yeah, I like the track, so it should be a good round. And then I believe it's Road Atlanta.
It is.
Quite like the last one. And then hopefully I'll be able to do a full season next season.
Awesome. Any questions from you two gents?
No, just congratulations on still making it to the finish, because a lot of drivers didn't today, so well done on that.
I did think about just stopping after I hit the wall quite hard, but I thought I'd better finish, and the car wasn't actually too bad. Still could get round the track okay. It was all pointing fairly straight, so yeah, I'm glad I finished in the end. I was considering watching the Man United-Chelsea game, but yeah, I thought I finished that.
Well, good luck for the remainder of the season, and hope youngster is well.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Thank you very much, Andy Gorton. Right, I guess we need to get hold of Mr. Holstein.
Oh God, I got scared there. Hello.
Well, hello to you. You must have sweated quite a lot in that one.
You could say that, definitely.
I mean, at one point it looked like you were comparatively comfortable in second, and then I did say comparatively. I mean, you did open up. It was like about 1.5 or 1.2 seconds before the second stops, and then just everything changed.
Well, everything. I mean, I had the chance, obviously, there to get my gap, but the thing is, which has always happened when you have a forward behind you, the longer the race goes, the more impossible it gets to. The more impossible the task is to actually pull away from it because of its tire advantage it has. So yeah, it wasn't really surprising to me that Rainer caught up again, even though I was driving super consistent in that part of the race. And then yeah, made a tiny mistake there in the pit lane, had to reverse a tiny bit, but still I didn't save enough fuel to actually stay in front of Rainer anyway. So instead it got very exciting with Blair in the end, I guess.
It was only exciting for us. I would imagine Blair can probably now draw the outline of your car from memory. He was stuck behind it so long. So, Watkins Glen next week. Looking forward to that one.
Oh, definitely. It's one of my favorite tracks, I think, on the whole surface. So, I mean, yeah, at the moment I see kind of how do you say in English? I don't know. I don't have really many hopes to improve pace-wise in terms of actually beating or tickling Ross on track at some point, but if he keeps driving like this. But it's definitely a track I enjoy quite a lot. Maybe that does help me to get a bit closer to him, but we shall see, I guess. I'm actually very happy with this result today. I didn't do any major mistakes and kept the podium streak alive, I guess, so that's something positive as well.
Very true indeed. Anything from you two gents?
No.
I'll take that as a no.
Yeah, well, how is it, Wycombs, that when you're doing qualifying and you're seeing Woodford going 6-7 faster than you? How as a driver do you feel at that point?
Well, yeah, it's a bit depressing, really, because you just done a pretty good lap yourself, and you're like, I have no idea what I did wrong. Where am I losing over half a second? I have no idea. So at the moment, I don't really know.
Well, but best of luck for the remaining rounds, and I have no doubt we will chat to you again.
Bye, guys.
Thank you very much, Christoph Holstein. Who should we have next, gentlemen?
We have.
Well, we've had a correction from Mr. Woodford.
So I see.
He's later messaged me and said, "Actually, scrap that. I'm going to come into the box anyway." So, yeah.
Should we
talk to him?
Should we chat to our race winner, Ross Woodford?
Hello.
So 1 minute you weren't going to join us, and now you're here. But we're glad to chat to you anyway. That was filthy disgusting. Your abuse of all your competitors. It needs to be reported.
No, I think we'll keep it how it is. Thanks.
Absolutely stunning drive. I mean, the first question is just how? Is it down to setup, practice, love of the track? Where on earth did all that come from?
A mixture of everything, to be honest. I'm a big fan of Sebring as a track. I had a really good setup from the guys at Radicals from an event they did earlier in the year, and I've been doing a lot of officials this week to try and grind my iRating up, so I've had a lot of practice.
Absolutely unbelievable. Is it? We did see towards the end, I'm saying the last couple of laps, that even you can have a half spin. Was that just down to complacency, or was there a back marker in the way?
No, that's just me, because I don't know about other people, but if I stop pushing, then I'm more likely to make a mistake. But again, if you keep pushing, then you're still gonna make a mistake every once in a while. So that was that mistake.
Even the greats make mistakes. Yep, absolutely true. Any questions
Do
from?
Do you actually also have a set of extra pants in your car with that spin at that time being so much in the lead? Did you think, oh, I've just lost it all here?
Oh, for sure, definitely.
So you thought you were going to be caught with the lead that you had?
No.
Just trying to keep it out of the wall.
Yeah, it was just. I knew I had the gap. I was just taking my time, making sure I didn't screw anyone's race by rejoining. And
awesome stuff. Watkins Glen next week. Will we see you towards the top end of the field again?
I hope so. I've got a question for probably Nick knows this. Do you know which layout we're running? Are we running the boot or not?
Oh, see, I don't know. I think so.
Not the boot, the bus stop. Sorry.
Let's go to
the
downloader to find out.
Yeah, I actually don't know.
I
We
know
haven't specified it.
The Formula cars didn't, I believe. So
And ILMS had no bus stop either, but I don't know what IMSA says next week.
IMSA says with the bus stop, but
Then it probably will be with the bus stop. I would presume.
Then it will be with the bus stop. Yeah.
well, I'm sure we will chat to you again in the remaining rounds, and good luck for those. Thank you very much, Ross Woodford. Who should we have next, gentlemen? We have Alex Smith and Rainer Talvar, I believe.
I think I should let Nick choose.
Who should we have, Nick?
Okay,
Nick?
maybe.
Oh yeah. So my PC is just having quite a bit of. I don't know, Alex Smith. Maybe
Let's have a chat.
Driver at least.
And welcome aboard, Alex Smith.
Hello?
Can you hear? Yes, we can hear you, Alex.
I can hear you. Hello.
Okay, more of a steady race from you this week.
Yeah, I mean, still leading Porsche, so I'll take that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not tough if you're the only Porsche on the grid, so.
Was there any particular? Did you have a particular mindset on how you were gonna take Sebring? I mean, Sebring is a hugely challenging track, we all know. We saw lots of incidents, particularly with bumps and what have you. Was there anything you were sort of thinking about before coming into this race in particular?
I thought it was probably a bit more competitive than I expected, but it was the complete opposite. I just had not any pace, sadly. But yeah, it's not because of the car, it's just me being slow. So yeah, and I try to avoid fighting as much as I can. So I probably pitted as first, and I think it worked quite well, to be fair. So yeah, happy with the strategy, I guess.
Yeah, I was surprised. I think you came in at 15 minutes or something like that. You were very, very early in the box. Was that always the plan, or did you make that decision because of the amount of fighting going on around you?
No, I just did not have the confidence to pass the people around me on the brakes. That's probably one of the reasons. But one of the things is that the Porsche can, in theory, go an extra lap longer compared to the other cars, even though it's a natural aspired engine. But I tend to just pit early all the time.
James actually made that very same point, that that seems to be your main pit strategy, to come in early. Is that just sort of keeping you out of the fighting, so it's just helping your confidence? Or again, is that something you're doing because of the situation you're in at the time?
I think it's more like more the pace of what people are around me and who I'm battling. Like, if I know that I'm battling someone really fast and I can keep up, and it's like for a really good position, then like podium or top 5, then surely I keep in the train. But I was like, what, 8, 12 at that time, so I had to do something else to gain some places. And I mean, it wasn't quick enough to get like top 5 today, but still I think pretty good result.
Excellent stuff. Looking forward to Watkins Glen next week?
I sadly have to miss Watkins Glen because I'm at home, but yeah, I'll try to be back at Road Atlanta. And I mean, the Porsche is not going to be good at Road Atlanta, but we try to kick some ass. I'm not allowed to say that, right? Sorry. Anyways, yeah, we do it our best, and yeah, it's going to be a bit of meme, but it's going to be a good meme, so it's going to be fun.
Awesome. Any questions from you two gents?
No, not really. No. You went into the point that I want to ask him about the pit stops. So.
Yeah.
So I beat you to it. Okie dokie. Well, we look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks' time. Thank you very much, Alex Smith. And I believe that just leaves us with Rainer Talvar. Unless there isn't Rainer Talvar that's in the box, but I'm pretty sure it is.
That is indeed Rainer Talvar.
Good. I always wonder. Rainer Talvar, hello to you, sir.
Hello.
Well, you had a fair amount of fighting to do today.
I mean, I didn't expect that position, but I'm happy to be there.
I mean, you were just locked in that second, third, fourth battle all race long. What was kind of going through your mind? Were you just thinking on trying to just hit your marks, the breaking points, the apex, and what have you, or were you constantly conscious of trying to make the move or defend from those behind you?
I mean, at the start, I literally had to push hard to keep up with the bimmers, but in the end, it got a little bit lighter as the 4 tires came alive. But yeah, Ford is also a bit better on fuel, I've noticed, so that really helped in the second pit stop.
Well, yeah, didn't it just? So it just came down to, just the difference in fuel that gave you that slight bit edge at the end?
I think the really vital thing was that I managed to keep up with Blair and Chris at the start. Because, yeah, I was really struggling against. I
see. So Watkins Glen next week, is that high on your like list, or is that are you not looking forward to that one?
I don't really know, to be honest. I haven't driven with a Ford yet.
Oh, there's a baptism by fire for you then.
Yeah. I've done a couple of laps in a bimmer. The track is fun. Yeah, we'll see.
Any questions from you two gents?
No, not really.
No, well done on the podium.
Thank you.
Yeah,
very well earned indeed. And good luck for the remaining races. Thank you very much, Reinatala. That is going to be it for this evening. Thank you very much to those that have been with us throughout the stream. A great pleasure to have you on board. Thank you very much to James and Nick for keeping me on the straight and narrow. That's always a difficult job in itself, but you handled it very well. And a great pleasure to have you both in the box with me. Good sirs.
Always a good fun time.
Yeah, always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
Thank you very much to our sponsors. Without you guys, AOR would not continue to grow. We will be back, as mentioned, next week for Watkins Glen, but there's plenty of racing going on in between then and now, so do check back with us then. Until then, thank you very much, and good night!